Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Monday Night Magic with your favorite Epigenetic Geeks, myself, Lori Falk, and my amazing co-host, Ken Close, Epigeneer. And we are so excited to be back from DC and to be here to help all of you to take charge and empower your health. Because some of the stuff that we saw when we were out there was not pretty, to be honest with you. I'd like to tell you that we learned a ton of stuff, but I think what we learned most is how many people don't pay attention to their health. We were at a leadership conference that was part of the inaugural festivities, and I will go on record to say neither Ken nor I are big political people. In fact, we avoid it kind of like the plague because it's just not that big a deal to us. But the fact of the matter is that when you are a healer or a teacher in the field of health and wellness, that means both sides of the fence. That means all races, all religions, all political parties. So it was really fascinating to be there and to, because since I don't pay attention to politics at all, I got such an education and learned so many things that I wouldn't have known if I hadn't actually gone. So it was very, very exciting. But if you see anybody on Facebook posting anything about us being these political weirdos, because we're talking about make America healthy again, know better. You know us, you know our hearts, okay? And our hearts are to make the world healthy again. And so here we are, and we're at this conference, and there was a lot of crypto people. I mean, like oodles of crypto people. And what I noticed, and I think Ken would agree, was that that was their focus. Their focus was money. Their focus was success. Their focus was, kill themselves if they had to, but darn it, they were going to be wealthy. And our wonderful friend, Stephen Tenner, who's on the call tonight. Man, Stephen, if I had been able to get a hold of that clip from the last 2 minutes of the event, we'd be playing it tonight because you so nailed it, my friend. He was the last person to speak, and he kind of looked around the room. He's sitting in a row of people that are all crypto dudes, and he goes, I don't know what you guys are thinking, because if you don't take care of your health, all that money's not going to be worth anything. You're not going to be able to use it. And it was the truth. And Ken and I actually had some one-on-one conversations with some of them, and they were like, oh, but I have to achieve this goal before I can think about taking time for myself. And it just, that was the sad part to me, was that so many people are so still obsessed with the American dream of financial wealth that they don't understand that your health is your wealth. And maybe because I lost my health when I was not even 40 years old, I learned that lesson at a young age. To me, 39 is young. Anyway, so I know it, and that's why I'm so passionate about it, and that's why I do everything I can to help facilitate your learning about it, whether it's the epigenetic perspective or the gut reset program we've got coming up, which has been now rescheduled to March 24th, 25th, and 26th. I can't even remember where I am with the emails on that. I know I let everyone who had registered know that the date had changed. I think I still owe everyone the new email with the new dates on it, but stay tuned. I was doing the best I could after coming back from DC with the Dispenza Influenza, which Ken will explain in more detail to all of you. The bottom line is that when we went to DC and Ken was speaking, and it was we stayed at an Airbnb where a lot of the speakers were. And the interesting thing, you guys are going to love this, is I get out of the car, and the woman who's coordinating the event, Sophia, was getting out of her car at the same time, and she went to Ken, you didn't tell me it was that Lori. She's famous. And I laughed hysterically and said, you must have a Healy, because nobody in the world would think I'm famous except somebody from the world of Healy. And of course she did, and a whole bunch of other people that stayed in the house. I mean, you went to pull up your device and you saw a list this long of other Healys and Mag Healys that were in the house. So it was really exciting. We met soul family. We raised our consciousness. Nobody wanted to sleep. I mean, people who normally go to bed at 9 o'clock were up until 6 in the morning. I am not making this up, because everyone was afraid if they went to sleep, they would miss something. There was so much talent in this. There were actors and singers and authors and healers and Andre Soriano, one of Melania's fashion designers, who dressed all of us for the ball on Sunday night. It was really, really, really quite an experience.
Including Miss America.
Including Miss America, yes. And the boys all got to meet her. Every guy got in the car and got over to his studio in time to meet Miss America. It was kind of cute. I wasn't worried about that part of it. I just came for the gowns later. But so that beautiful dress that you saw me in was a $4,000 original Andre Soriano gown, and I am so grateful to him. It makes your evening when you know that you are dressed by a designer in something that he made, and that he went, this is the one I think is for you.
And you're chased around the place with somebody wanting to buy your dress right off you. There was a woman who had to have that dress. I want to buy your dress.
Absolutely. I should have told her it was $10,000. I mean, she would have paid that much. She honestly followed me around for over an hour, and then finally asked me who designed it and how could she get one. And it was really, really a magical experience. So much so that I came home with Dispenza Influenza. And honestly, I promise we will tell you what that is. But the main thing that you're going to hear from us this evening is the absolute positive importance of empowering yourselves and taking charge of your own health. And a lot of you already do that, but we're going to just drive it home, because we're not going to sit here and tell you what's happening with RFK's confirmation, because none of us know yet. Stay tuned. Wednesday or Thursday, you'll find that out. I can give you a link. You can go read about what's going on there. But what the main thing to understand is that the world is changing. The world is changing, and Ken's mantra these days is, it's time to make broken shit obsolete. And my mantra is, your health is your wealth. So we're going to make broken things obsolete, and we're going to empower you to take charge of your health, because we collectively as a community need to do this now, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month. We have to do it now. We have to make sure that we're in alignment. We have to make sure that we are healthy and emotionally balanced, because when the rest of the people who don't know what we know find out how they've been lied to, it could get a little crazy out there. I don't know. I'm just saying it might. And when it does, your family's going to lean in, your kids are going to lean in, your friends are going to lean in, and then your community is going to lean in. Everybody's going to be leaning on you, because you've kind of been letting them know over the last number of years what you know. So they know that you know, and they're going to want your help. So the more centered you are, the more prepared you are, the easier it's going to be for everyone. What do you think, Ken?
One of the those of you that joined us last month on the Monday Night Magic, I shared with you my points to the American people. What was I going to share in regards to making America healthy again, to America? And one of those points was to declare your greatness. I think that one of the most important things that we can do is declare what we want, not what we don't want, because we do that enough. How many times have you said, "Oh, I don't like that"? You know, this is the key. Every time we say, "I don't like that" or "I don't want that," the universe doesn't necessarily hear "don't." It pays attention to where we place our energy. Where we place our attention is where we place our energy, and that attention becomes our intention. justified or not, as Lori said, we're in terms of a political stance. I don't take sides. I don't care if a Democrat or Republican or a liberal, or an African American or somebody from the United States calls me up and says, Ken, my child is ailing, and I know that you can save them. If I pull up to their house and I see a Democrat sign in the window, do I leave? Do I leave? No. I don't care what your party is. I don't care what your race is. I don't care what your sexual preference is. If your child is sick, if you're sick, if there's a way that I can tune your body back into health, I will. And believe me, I know how. Because part of what I've been studying and part of what Lori and I share all the time is an epigenetic influence. Epigenetic influence. Epi meaning outside the cell, outside the genetic code, right? There is a genetic code for every cell in your body. And so, again, part of what I shared on stage up there was to declare your greatness. And then I shared my platform of empowering the body and how exactly that's done. How exactly that's done. There's a formula for that. And it's a simple formula, but it's the most powerful formula that you'll ever learn and that will ever change anything around your health. And that formula, as simple as it sounds, is complex to achieve. And that is simply to create brain and heart coherence. The moment that we create brain and heart coherence. Now, coherence, remember what that means. Coherence is in alignment. Coherence is a connection that is synergistic, right? And that means that the brain is not trying to compartmentalize information. The majority of the time, and this is epigenetics and neuroscience actually even says this, 84% of Americans' day is spent in the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight nervous state. 84% of your day. Now, to some degree, and the interesting part about that is some people may not agree with me, and they may say, but I do these practices, I manage my stress levels, I can handle a lot of stuff. And when we say to the world that I have a high stress job, but I can handle it, that is not a badge of honor. No matter how you wear it, it is not a badge of honor, because even though the mind thinks it can, the body says it cannot. And I measure that. I have measured so many people with a system that uses HRV, the heart rate variability. This is the marker of brain and heart coherence. It takes an alpha wave signal off of that HRV reading from the wrists. This is electrical signal pulsing. And we can take a portion off of that. And with that, we can create 11 panels of content around your true markers of health. True markers of health. Not a blood type or a blood test. The blood test is great. What's a blood test for? Anybody know the exact reason for a blood test? It's to show you your current markers, not of health, but of order or disorder. Just simply where you are in this snapshot moment. It doesn't tell you what the numbers are for optimal health. It only tells you the bandwidth for not disease. Okay? So what this test can tell you is actually all aspects. It gives you a very clear bandwidth of health and tells you where you are or are not within that bandwidth. So if we're able to see that, and if we think that we are in a management abundance where we can manage things, but the body says it's not, it's out of balance. The truth here is we've just normalized super high levels of stress. We don't even know anymore how stressed the body is. And you hear it all the time from everywhere. You hear it all the time that physicians and medical facilities, professionals will say stress is the biggest killer. Why? And how do we measure it? And then if we do find that we are in some high form of stress response, how do we change the markers of that? How do we move the needles on health? What is the modality? And it's not a drug. I mean, it is not a pharmaceutical. The body is its most elaborate pharmaceutical resource it ever needs. These bodies can create everything from epinephrine for pain management to oxytocin for enlightenment. It doesn't matter. It can build, it has all the blocks, building blocks to make this. The problem is, or the block, or I should say where we get stumped, is the mind. So if we just take a little quick snapshot of chain of command, right? I mean, I'm a military guy. Some of my people may understand chain of command, right? Even if you work for somebody, maybe you guys are entrepreneurs and work for yourself, that's great. You know who the boss is. It's still a chain of command, isn't there? It's you. Okay. So the chain of command here within this human existence is, number one, is source. There's one source. You can call it God, unified field, quantum field. You can call it whatever you wish. It is a higher, greater self. Okay. And it's not just self. Source encompasses everything. It is a source of energy. And at one point, and this is still measurable, by the way, science can still see this happening and taking place in real time. At one point, source, oneness, asked the one question, is there more? And the moment source asked if there were more, density started to deplete and light was born. Let there be light. You ever heard that before? All right. We can now peer far, far away into brand new stars being created right now. And when a star is born, the significance of the density of gas is so high that not even light can escape. Okay, there's a point in which that density starts to dissipate enough where light escapes. That's where that phrase came from, let there be light. And from that point, the heating and cooling of that environment starts to build layer after layer after layer of minerals. They're all on a periodic table. Every one of them are within us, within you. Every mineral that a star creates is in your body, right? And when our body is flourishing within that mineral base, our body, it flourishes. The light shines through us and all around us. But the problem is that we're not really giving it all those minerals anymore. And as we start to lower, again, that chain of command source, as we start to lower that chain of command, then the next step is consciousness. Consciousness was a division of source. And that consciousness, there's a unified field of unified consciousness, but then there's an independent consciousness in which everything has, from a rock to us, everything has a consciousness. Einstein said it. It requires a consciousness to observe the particle or the waveform in the particle. A consciousness nothing can exist without a consciousness to observe it into form. So again, we're just going down the chain of command. The next is consciousness. Your individual consciousness has its own frequency, right? This is why it's hard for you to read my consciousness and vice versa. Doesn't mean it's impossible, because when we start to merge a frequency, how many of you have known somebody so well, you start to read their thoughts? That's a merging in consciousness frequency, right? And it doesn't necessarily take time to do that. Some people have come across a person that they just met that they seem like they've known forever, right? Hang on. I feel that. I feel that. I feel it right here. And I like that feeling, by the way, because it is a feeling of peace, of an open heart, right? And when our consciousness merge, we can now amplify each other, right? This amplification happens anyway. But as an individual consciousness, when we separate ourselves out even further, then it starts to orchestrate this organ called the brain, right? Just your brain is orchestrated or puppeteered by your consciousness. And then that brain puppeteers what? Your body, right? The body is the end result of consciousness solidifying into form. And if we understand that principle, that process, the genetic code is the instruction, it's the owner's manual to your body. And there's codes written, very distinct codes written. And it is your mind, your brain, the energy of that solidifies those code by code by code, cell by cell by cell. And you've heard me say it before. How many cells per second?
800,000.
Bingo. 800,000 cells per second are recreating in your body right now and right now and right now. I said that on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, I said that on stage, and the audience went like this, leaned in, because nobody's ever said that before. Nobody's ever demonstrated your greatness, and we need to do that. Declare your greatness, demonstrate how it works, and then start giving people their power back, empowering the body, making things that don't work obsolete. And this is how we do it. The formula says this is proven over and over and over again. And I was part of a study in 2021. It was published in 2022 about the way that these bodies can produce a very specific protein. It's serpina 5. I'll say it right. SERPIN 5, serpin 5, something. I'll get to the spelling here in a minute. And this protein that is created by brain and heart coherence. That's it. It's essentially created by thought alone, right? And when we have a thought, we generate a chemical, a peptide. This is a signaling molecule. It goes down into the body and tells certain hormones, I should say certain organs and systems, to produce certain chemicals called hormones. And those things create a feeling in your body, right? These are the feelings that you interpret is a language of your body. It's an emotion, but it's still just a chemistry that your brain has sent signaling into the body to create for you. You have assigned meaning to those emotions, because when you have a thought and it creates these chemicals that go into your body, right? Those chemicals are then interpreted somewhere along your existence. It's interpreted as a feeling. Maybe you were told, like, oh my God, you're just mad. You're just angry right now. You're just angry. And that definition becomes your truth. You assign meaning to it. Now, maybe it wasn't anger. Maybe it was embarrassment, right? But somebody told you it was this, and so you assigned the meaning. And from then on, that same feeling, every time you got it, was anger. Now, to some people, they don't even know what it's like to be angry. They don't get angry. Other people, that's the way they live. And the body becomes good at whatever that assignment is, the assignment of the emotion, the assignment of the chemical expression. Now, the cool thing is, our power is that we can change the assignment. This is where our power lies. You want to give somebody their power back. Start reframing certain things around how the thought stimulates an assignment or a meaning before it generates an emotion. Because once it becomes an emotion in the body is now consuming energy to produce that chemical response, and whatever sympathetic versus parasympathetic ratio it's in, fight or flight or rest and digest, that's what it does, right? And now we're consuming energy at a different rate. And at the higher rates of consumption of energy, the lower rates of healing. It doesn't take as much power to heal the body as it does to stress the body. Think about that for a second. The natural state of the body is homeostasis. The natural state of the body is homeostasis. We, as a consciousness, go to work to trigger the brain to knock that out of balance. So who's in charge? Come on. Who's in charge? We're in charge. We're in charge of the state of these bodies. And the only way that we can knock them out of balance is by being in the way of it. I think let that sink in, people. Let it sink in. It took me a couple of years to get that to sink in, but I was fortunate enough to be in a community of thousands that every time I joined them, we would come together in a coherent field and build a model of healing. And you couldn't escape it. You were in a bubble, no different than going to the winning side of a ball game in the stands, and everybody's cheering and clapping and having a great time, and you're Mr. Grumpy Face, right? Or Mrs. Grumpy Face, right? Believe me, how long does that last? After about an hour or so of that game and everybody's cheering and having a great time, you can't help but every now and then to at least snicker, right? And at least have a little giggle. Something comes out inside of you because this energy field is encapsulating your body. And your body, you've heard me say it before, is a walking, talking antenna. It's a walking, talking antenna. This is why frequency or energy, or we can read someone from a long ways away, and how I felt that emotion earlier of knowing people without ever have meeting them. There's just a heart coherence amongst all of us, right? You may feel that. This is where we start to heal. When all of a sudden we've raised the energy of the body, and it doesn't mean that we did it, right? Our mind could totally be in the way. But like being in the bleachers on that winning side of a ball game, it doesn't take long before the mind gets taken hostage and the brain starts following suit and the body starts to dance, right? That's the process. And so sometimes we need some help. Sometimes we can have the best intentions and we can have the most powerful cognitive understanding. And we can even present or have been presented the truth about how we heal, and yet not do it because of that assignment of meaning I told you about. We've assigned a meaning that we have so much connection to, so much investment in, that without it, we don't know who the hell we are. That saddens me a lot, because to the detriment of the body, people will hold on to an identity that's killing them. And that has to be obsolete. We have to make that crap obsolete. And that's my job. When I stood up there on stage, or sat up there on stage, and I said to the American people, let me show you how to get your power back. Let me show you how to do it. And I explained a process. And then, because Lori challenged me, she said, let me see if you can define epigenetics on stage. I'm like, you're on. And so I explained the process. And then after I explained that, I said, and that's epigenetics. That's how we influence the cell outside the cell. And people were like, jaw dropping, like, it's not that hard. It's just that it is a formula that most people will not accept because they're not willing to surrender something. One of the gentlemen that we met, very ingrained in the financial chaos and disorder of our world, and working on decentralizing and many things. It's a whole political thing. But he has had many blessings, and he has had many traumas. And he told me one night, again, one of those conversations Lori's telling you about, where this group of people that just are like ever ready bunnies. They don't discharge, right? Because the field is feeding their bodies. The environment is feeding their bodies, and they just need less rest. It's just you're energized so much that time stands still. All of a sudden it's 5 a.m. You go, oh my God, didn't we just get back from the inaugural ball like an hour ago? No, that was 5 hours ago. So he was telling me his struggles, and he surrendered his beliefs and his self to being alone the rest of his life. Because if I was to achieve what I achieve, I will have many enemies. And I said, here's an interesting part about that, what you just said. I'm going to ask you one question. And he leaned in and I said, what would you be willing to sacrifice to not be alone? What will you be willing to sacrifice to not be alone? And this is what we need to ask ourselves. What would I be willing to sacrifice to be healthy, to be wealthy, to be in relationship, to feel worthy, to be loved? What am I willing to sacrifice? Because if those are not happening in your life right now, it's because of the meanings you've assigned, not because of what you know now. It's what you've already assigned and already know. You've got to surrender something you believe in, something you know as fact, in order to make room for new fact. Understand? This is the formula. And so the easiest way to move ourselves out of a disorder is by finding a way to build brain and heart coherence. No matter how you do it, no matter how you make it up, it will move the body into healing. And you would have had to sacrifice and surrender some meanings, some modalities, some beliefs, some systems you have in place now in order for that to happen. Otherwise, it would be there. Otherwise, you'd be in healing all the time. I wear a watch here. I've probably demonstrated this on this call before. This is a Garmin watch. It measures HRV. It measures heart rate variability. And I can, if I'm in a proper HRV, heart rate variability is essentially the timing sequences between the spikes of a sinus rhythm. When your heart beats, right, it generates electrocardiograph indication. So you can plot it on a piece of paper, right? You can see those in EKG, right? Okay. So the peaks of those sinus points is the determination of your heart rate. So it might be showing 70 beats per minute, your heart rate. It's timed, how many beats per minute. But the truth is that the machine that's monitoring that, essentially any other machine that's monitoring that, typically is giving an average 70, 71, 69. But it's actually, the truth is, it might be 70.2, 69.8, right? And then the average being 70. So HRV is exact. When we are in heart and brain coherence, those point to points are exact. 69.9, 69.9, 69.9, 69.9 every single time. That's zero variability. That means the brain and heart are balanced. They're speaking to each other. There's no compartmentalizing of the brain. There's no left hemisphere and right hemisphere competing for energy or for resources. The heart is getting a pure signal and giving a pure signal. So that's HRV. And when we can measure that, the longer we are in that zero variability or very low variability, we are in the parasympathetic nervous state. We're in rest and digest. And the longer we're there, the better the body repairs. I don't care if you just got done with working out or if you just got hit by a car and your body's broken. I don't care what has happened, if you've been through a surgery. I don't care if you got a disease. The only way to get out of any of those conditions is putting the body into the parasympathetic, into rest and digest. And the only way to get there is brain and heart coherence, or a lot of times in our sleep. Why? Because all of a sudden then Ken is out of the way. Thank God that consciousness is out of the way. I can actually get something done here, right? And that's the truth. But even so, how many times are people not sleeping well? So you're even robbing yourself from that repair cycle while you're sleeping. The biggest portion of your circadian rhythm in which your body is healing is between midnight and 2 a.m. I don't care where you are in the world. Between midnight and 2 a.m. is where the mother load of repair, recovery, and growth happens. Of course, the raw materials need to be there. This is why, again, when you wake up the next morning, you're dehydrated and malnourished. Your body's used up everything to build the house, and there's not much left, right? And all that's left is waste material. What do you do when you first get up? run to the bathroom. Yeah. Because that's what it's doing. It's flushing out the waste material that it just got done utilizing and cleaning out your body. But when our rest cycle, our sleep cycle is even disrupted, we're not even healing then. So what I really want to talk about, how do we move the needle on health? What do we do? What do we actually do? What are the physical attributes? And then when we do it, what happens to the body? You heard Lori say the Dispenza Influenza.
Oh,
I
yeah.
want you to, I want you to think about the body's language. Now, here I am. I'm speaking to you. I'm communicating with you. I'm using my hands. You can feel tone and texture to my voice. You can hear amplitude, and you can even feel emotion, right? This is how we communicate in a verbal and audio and visual sense. The body doesn't have as many cues. Its verbiage, its language is much more limited. And so when it's trying to tell you something, it might do it in the expression of a pain. It might be a sharp pain, a dull pain, an ache, however you've interpreted that meaning. It might do it in the form of a fever. It might do it in the form of a cough, in a form of brain fog, dizziness, some kind of awkwardness, right? You know what I'm talking about. And if you just take a look at overall how much language the body has, it's not that much. And so whenever there's an influence to the body, it's going to produce language. It's going to try to talk to you. And so sometimes it gives the same symptom for a multitude of causes, right? Sometimes it's hard to say. You got an upset stomach because everybody goes to, well, what did I just get done eating? Right? What did I just eat? That's my upset stomach. But forgetting, what was I just thinking? What was I just feeling?
Or feeling, right? What are you emotionally not digesting?
Exactly. What in the brain created the chemistry in your body to feel an emotion that disrupted your digestive system? Right? They go right back to what we just ate. And what do you do with an upset stomach or acid reflux or whatever? It's like you start crunching on some tablets. You start throwing something down there, right? An acid blocker. Do you want to know the number one reason for acid reflux? Do you think it's acid?
No.
No. The sphincter muscle at the top of the stomach, right, is acid reactive. When there's a high and good acid content in the stomach, it snaps shut. When the stomach interior content is alkali, it leaks. Interesting, huh? And we throw antacids down the pipe to try to make it less acid. Doesn't work very good, right? That's not the way we do it. Well, the way we do it is we maintain a proper microbiome so that the proper pH in the stomach is snapping the sphincter shut. It's a signaling molecule. Shuts it, and you don't get that acid reflux. A lot of times what happens is there's damages done to that same muscle through a lot of very high toxic intake, and then that muscle gets damaged, and now that's a different story. But when you have an occasional reflux, it's most time when people are like, I ate something too acidic. Not true. Most time it's too alkali. So anyway, back to the process of what we're going to do to realign ourselves. It is when we understand the body's language, what the house that we were in, the people that were of the core, created such a high level of energy and connection because everyone was there, was not by accident. And yet the core people that were there, what was there, 11 of us? The core people. And then others, they invited friends and people they had met to the house, and the people would come in, would look at us and think that we had known each other for years. And they were like, and when they found out the truth that this is like the first time we were physically met together. And some of the group had never met before. Lori and I had met because of a Healy. We'd been together in other events and such like that. But the majority of the people, no, never met in person ever before, and never even had been on a call or connected at all. But there was just such a gravitational pull, an energy pull. and an amplification between the personalities and the souls that were in those bodies, that we amplified each other. And when you raise the energy, and this is again back to the analogy of being on the winning side of a ball game in the bleachers, when you raise the energy of the body by environmental influences, when you surrender, accept, believe, and surrender to that happiness, to that joy, right? And you're not Mr. Grumpy Face or Miss Grumpy Face in the bleachers. You came happy, and you're amplified. You're happy, and your joy accelerated. The body gets an upgrade. The body gets an upgrade. And when you raise that energy, you start to produce those proteins that Dr. Joe and that community, the research team, discovered. And that's the Serpina 5 protein. Dr. Joe and that research team has discovered that when the body gets in that brain and heart coherence, and joy is the production of the emotion that you're experiencing, and the longer you linger in that joy, the body produces this protein that becomes the armor. Like you are impervious to a virus. You are impervious to a bacteria. Your body's immune system is firing at a higher amplitude of energy. Nothing gets in. And we know that a virus or a bacteria or some kind of a disease is just an opportunist looking for a body's system that's compromised, low energy. Why do you think people in high stress responses are sick all the time? Because their body's system is so low energy that it literally accepts, believes, and surrenders those low energy viruses. That viruses and molds and bacteria are low frequency. When you vibrate at a frequency above that, nothing can touch you. Here's the side effect. We're getting to the influenza. The side effect.
Dispenza Influenza.
The Dispenza Influenza. The side effect of this, and this was discovered in January of 2015. It was actually discovered prior to that, but it was explained by Dr. Joe Dispenza in 2015. I'm sorry, 2018. When your body raises its frequency to a high vibrational state, whatever does not fit that vibrational state gets expelled. At the cell level, at the genetic level, your genetic code starts to alter, and it starts building cells to the tune of 800,000 per second that are higher frequency, that are now cells of joy, of abundance, of love, of authenticity. And the whole cool thing about this is that whatever gets expelled must be evacuated. And remember what I said about the body's language? That content, which is toxic content, gets pushed back into the bloodstream and moves through the body and starts to show up as aches and pains, dizziness or fogginess in the brain, coughs because we're trying to expel it out of our lungs, flu-like symptoms.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You know, and this isn't fair, okay? 11 of us, I think in the first 48 hours after we were home, 8 of us were sick. But there's Mr. Quora effect with his whole setup, red light, emerald light, oxygen, PEMF, microcurrent. I mean, he's got the whole system running on him at the same time. And we're all 102, 103 fever, body aches, total congestion, can hardly talk. And there he's, go on Facebook, guys, and look at those pictures where he's all lit up. He's got the whole system running on him. So he was feeling it. He was having similar symptoms, but he just had a methodology to get himself under control. And so what really, really, really happened is that we were in an environment with such amazing, high vibrational people who were heart-centered, but passionate. And every single one of them was making their mark in the world in a particular way. Every one of them. You know, I said we had actors and singers and authors and healers so you put all these people together, and it was like, when have you experienced, maybe at a Healy conference, but when have you experienced being around that many like-minded people, because all of us are a little weird or we wouldn't be on this call. We're kind of geeky, you know? So here we are, we're amongst these geeky people, and we're all loving it because we're all wanting to make a difference in the world. And one person's feeding the next person, and it just was like this energy that just didn't stop and kept going and going and going and going. And I just got to throw this little twist in there because Ken was the best speaker. I knew that, but one of the guys there came up to me and said, "You know, Ken was the best speaker today." And I said, "Yeah, really? you, you really think so?" I said, "Well, I know he was." I said, "I know he was." He goes, "Yeah, I had never heard about epigenetics before." And he goes, "Problem is, I still don't understand it." And I said, "Would you like me to explain it to you?" And he's like, "Sure, you can." I'm like, "This is why Ken and I are colleagues. This is why Ken and I are business partners. This is why Ken and I work together, because not everybody understands the science at the level that he does. So you got me, who's just this ordinary girl who takes all that like intense scientific knowledge and breaks it down to a level that makes the average person be able to understand it. So I said, so I'm going to now explain epigenetics to you. I'm going to explain the exact same thing he was explaining to you. I'm just going to use different words and different examples. And in a half hour, he was like blown away. He was totally blown away because he understood it. And he even started to relate it to his religion and to different things he had read in the Bible. And like, that wouldn't have been where I took it, but I understood how he was taking the ancestral information that I was talking about. And it was so beautiful. It's so beautiful. So now this guy has 215 or 225,000 followers. He wants to put Ken and I on his show
Yeah. Yeah.
because the two of us together reach people in a unique way. And that's what's so beautiful about the work in the world that we get to do together in the world.
Every one of us has a voice. Every one of us has an energy signature. Every one of us has a consciousness that orbits only or orchestrates only your brain, right? And so when your brain starts to formulate thoughts and project words and information, there's only a certain bandwidth of the world that will hear you. And so this is why one person can't heal the world. I want to heal the world. That's my soul's mission, but I can't do it alone. Lori speaks in a way that a certain demographic hears. Dawn speaks in a way, Kim speaks in a way, all of you speak in a way that addresses and is heard by a certain demographic of the word, a certain bandwidth. So we need all of you, right? And the truth of the matter is there's systems out there that are broken and that are becoming obsolete. And there are a lot of people that have been dependent on those systems to this point. Even though they haven't been working for them, they've been maybe sustaining them enough to not die yet. And
Yes,
so
yeah.
when that system breaks down, then they're going to need fallout shelters. They're going to need backup. They're going to need an escape plan. And so our job, all of us that knows this information, you can't unknow this information, by the way. You can try, but once you have an experience, once there's a cognitive aha, how many here have had an aha? I mean, right? Once you've had an aha, your nervous system is upregulated to that new information at the speed of light. You can't untaste the orange juice, as I say. You can't unexperience that new aha. It may take a while for your biology to accept, believe, and surrender the new information to make this biological shift, but you can't unlearn it. You can't unknow it. You can't unexperience it. So that's what we're doing here. We're trying to give you
tools. So are you guys following this Dispenza Influenza? So think about this. Think about the fact that we all went into this like fifth dimensional consciousness, right? I mean, we had third dimensional people walking into that house going, what just happened? Like, where am I? It was like they had died and gone to heaven because they were witnessing something they'd never seen before. And I have like total body consciousness bumps as I'm telling you this. It was that palpable and that poignant. And so here we are, we're living in a world, in a reality that we didn't even though we hoped it was possible, none of us really ever thought it could be. I mean, yes, when you go to a Dr. Joe Dispenza event and you're around thousands of people who are doing this meditating and heart brain coherence and all of that, but this was almost more like a normal event. Okay, we weren't all sitting there doing all that. Yes, we did emerald light therapy and we did, some of the Quora effect things, but for the most part, it was people making dinner together. It was people eating dinner together. It was people, talking about the day and the experiences and everything else. It was normal, but it was at such a high vibe. Now you get away from that. I mean, I literally am going to tell you, I fell asleep the minute the flight took off. And I don't sleep on planes, but my whole system went like, oh, because I was out of that. Now I was in total third dimensional energy. And so my body went like, what just happened? And even though it was so good and so amazing, and I like, some of us are even talking about going and getting a big house and having a, like a community housing situation, because that's how much bonding occurred in those few days. But now your body is going like, what in the world? What in the world just happened? And so your body's reacting. My dog is like going crazy over here because she knows how excited I am and she wants to be part of this so bad. Oh my goodness, Gabriella, mommy loves you. Anyway, so the body's going like, it's reacting in the only way that it knows how. And I was fine. I was like literally fine. I came home Tuesday night, unpacked. Wednesday, I worked all day. I thought I was fine. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting on the couch and I go, I think I might have a fever. Well, okay, and I got 6 thermometers in the house, but I don't use them very often because it's just me and I don't get sick very often, knock on wood. So only one of them worked. And my temperature was 102.5. I mean, I was texting back with Doc Steve and he's going, don't let that get over 103. So thank you, Doc, for being my concerned friend and doctor from afar that night. Oh my goodness. But so do you see, this is Dispenza influenza. Your body's reacting because it's like, even though this was so amazing, it was a lot for the body to handle. So
There's still a biological upgrade. In other words, there's still a biological upgrade. Understand that a fever is a mechanism the body uses to dispel toxin, to dispel a foreigner, to dispel an enemy. An emotional baggage can be an enemy. What we're not looking at here deep enough is that a misaligned meaning to anything you've assigned as a child, from a trauma to a drama. It doesn't matter. Those are misalignments and those must be expelled from the body. And that the way to do that is to raise your energetic vibration. Information leads to transformation. We need to understand this process and use it to our advantage. Now, is it comfortable to go through these biological upgrades? No. You ever heard of the dark night of the soul?
Yes. Been there, done that.
That's it. And when we are in, you guys probably know my history with Dr. Dispenza. It's been 12 years, right? I mean, it's over 20 live events. And I've been blessed to be part of so many of the studies, the physical biological studies, taking blood and saliva and stool samples and every other thing they can pull from the body to test before an event and after event. Let's take a look at those two significant changes. And what's discovered is, this is how this protein has been discovered, that it And then they take these cell structures, this blood that is protected by this protein, and they give it COVID. And this is published in the study that COVID could not take. No virus could take. The cell was impervious. So when we do that, when we learn how to do that within our own bodies, the truth of the matter is that the only type of what feels like a virus, a cold, a flu is actually a biological upgrade. We feel the changes in the biology of the body, and the body just expressing it in a language that it only has. And even a fever is a language, right? It's still a message from the body. And the contemporary medicine model will tell you that that fever is a result of a virus. It's also a toxin. When you expel a toxin, the body's going to do it in ways that it knows how. And this has just been proven over and over again now within the community, that, you know, where science is now the contemporary language to mysticism, proving it. So what do we do? What do we do to change our biology?
Well, first and foremost, run creative homeopathy. You have a healing, you've got the ability to do that kind of deep analysis and find out what your ancestors passed on to you. Find out what stuff got deeply seated into your subconscious, because until you know what's running the show, and the subconscious, you've heard me say this a million times, the subconscious is running the show. 90 to 98% of the time you are reacting based upon subconscious programs. So if you don't know what's in there, you're messed up. You're behind the eight ball. You're not going to get where you really could potentially get. So go in there and clear that up. Now, just running creative homeopathy isn't necessarily going to work. Tested this on myself this weekend, saw some really high numbers, ran it for 4 hours, did a retest the next day, the same shit showed up. No kidding. So obviously I have to do some deeper level of work to clear that. Just running frequencies isn't going to do it. But that's a starting point. It's at least a starting point. It's an awareness that you know where you're at. Because the thoughts that are been passed down to you are creating the emotions that are triggering the chemicals that are setting off all this chain reaction of stuff and weakening the entire system. We don't want that. We want you as healthy as possible. And we want you cleaning up your life, your subconscious. We want you to be emotionally balanced. We want you to be strong, because when the shit does hit the fan, people are going to need to lean on you. People will lean on you.
We're not that effective broken, right?
No.
We're not that effective if we're broken. And so it's very critical that we maintain a high level of brain and heart coherence. So that, and again, folks, you know, I know there's justified reasons to get angry. I know there's justified reasons to feel lonely, to feel unworthy, to feel in some form of lack. I know there's justified reasons. You just can't afford to practice them anymore. We've got to make these things obsolete and find a way and a fire escape plan that you can attach to a higher frequency vibration at any moment. In the midst of a sensory perception, what you're seeing, hearing, smelling, and tasting, in the midst of that, practice one thing: reassigning the meaning. Just practice reassigning the meaning. Go ahead, see the traffic jam, hear the insults, right? Feel the loneliness, and then reassign the meaning. You need to find out what the reassignment is first, though. So in the time in which there's no chaos and no disorder and no problems, practice feeling something that makes you feel joy, thinking something that promotes joy in the body, thinking something that promotes love in the body, thinking something that you feel so authentic about that no one can knock you off of that belief. So feel something in those higher states of vibration, those higher states of emotional conditions. Practice that first, and then Once you practice it enough to where you're good at it. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. We just may not be good at it at first. No different than trying to learn how to dribble a basketball, right? Or basket weaving. I don't care what it is. We practice more, we get better. And so this is your fire escape plan. This is your assignment, is to find something that brings you joy. Think of something that brings you joy, right? Think of what it is. Visualize it, see it. Even in the peripheral field, the whole field in what you're viewing right now, when you can see something that triggers joy in your life, even though you're looking at a computer screen, no matter what you're looking at, work in your mind, because I want you to understand that all of these things are just organs. The brain is just an organ. The eye is just a slave unit. The optic nerve goes into the brain, just gives a signal, and the brain assigns meaning to it. You can change that with practice. Okay. So we need that practice ahead of the time. And that way, when a struggle comes, justified or not, it's a real struggle, right? I really did get cut off in traffic. I really did get a bad email. I really did get somebody yelling in my face. But you can bring back an assigned meaning that you do want. And you can stimulate that joy in your body. And at that point, the moment you do that, the body assigns a new value of trust in you. The body's precognitive, people. It reads your mind. And it becomes a version of your mind. So give it something new. Be willing to surrender the old meanings. Build a model of what I call the fire escape plan, right? And practice.
And if you need help, I am running a program starting on March 6th. It's a 6-week program, down and dirty, the art of living consciously. And we're going to go through all the crap that's in the way. I don't normally do 6-week programs because I know that it can take a little bit longer, and integration time in between these subjects is helpful, but it feels right now. We're going to go and we're going to find we're going to do an overall ancestral clearing. We're going to do forgiveness work. We're going to do self-love. I mean, it's going to be boom, 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 boom every week, every Thursday for 6 weeks. So check your emails. I've sent out the information over the weekend. There's an early bird that expires today. So I would love to have you join me because I love teaching these programs. Can I say I love it? I adore teaching these programs. I love helping people get more conscious. I really, really, really do, as does Ken. And so ultimately, in our work together, what we want to help each of you do is to declare your greatness. Isn't that the message that we've kind of been giving you here all night? I mean, declare your greatness, own your power, empower yourselves. So,
and guess what?
There's a new website.
Yep. So here's our ask. I already asked you guys to create a fire escape plan. Okay. Create your fire escape plan. And I mean, write it down. If you just think of it in your mind, the mind is malleable and will change it to fit the situation, and it'll never be proper. So design your fire escape plan, write it down. What feeling do you want to feel? And what is it that generates that for you? Okay, write that down and then practice feeling it without it being present. Okay, practice that. Secondly, another part of the homework is to declare your greatness. We've talked about that. Again, not in your mind, because when you put it in your mind, it will get edited in the time of crisis. And that's not going to be valuable to you. So you write it down. Write it down. Declare your greatness. I am a healer and I can heal the world, whatever it is. And you can go to declareyourgreatness.com. We created this for you guys. Declareyourgreatness.com. You put your email and your name in there, and there's a spot for comment to write down your greatness. Now, once you place it there, you've declared it. It's an archive in time. You can't erase it. The universe won't erase it. It's there for the world forever. This means that it will become truth the more you rehearse it. You can't edit this. So go to declareyourgreatness.com, put your greatness in there. It doesn't have to be a book. It can be a small sentence that suits your heart, your soul. And that's the whole point here. It need not be complicated, because if it's too complicated, you won't do it. Right? These bodies are divine, amazing creations. And we know nothing about them. Not much at all. And the reason that I can say that with such distinction is because they are suffering. Any body that is in suffering is a body that is just unknowing right now. Right now. Doesn't mean you don't know tomorrow, but right now. Because what you know right now is still not quite enough. Let's move that needle up. Let's get our bodies in shape. Let us help you and guide you. Lori's got some programs put together. I am launching across the United States a Core Effect pop-up. And my website will be up pretty soon. A Core Effect pop-up is a group of 15 people that have come together, committed to understanding how we can implement our greatness, how you can use the technology that I've created, and move the needle on your health. So basically, it is a system in which it's going to be $149 a person. I'm looking for groups of 15. I will provide all of the design parameters, everything from venue, everything from timing, from the meeting beginning and timing, the whole syllabus for the day. We will be giving, I will be giving a lecture personally. We will be doing an autonomic nervous system full-on panel test. You'll each get a test. And then everybody will get a implementation of our frequency and energy applications from light, sound, vibration, and microcurrent, as well as there's a PEMF mat, which is 5 modalities. You'll get a combination of energy infusions into your body to restructure your genetic codes. So this is epigenetics, folks, and the technology we have available today can move the needle quite fast. So I am doing from coast to coast, and we're just building this system to be able to demonstrate and plant seeds all over the world. So that's where we start. I just wanted to let you guys know that. Please share declareyourgreatness.com with everyone. Let everyone declare their greatness. No different than an I am statement. I am sad. I am amazing. I am lonely. Those are all truths given to the quantum field to express a body to be able to orbit within that statement. So I say, let's make it a declaration of greatness and not lack. Who's in? Let's do it.
I am. And the thing is, that gives us insight more into you. We know more about who you are. We know more about what you want to become. And that helps us to better target these programs for you. How amazing is that?
Yeah.
And I now have 3 in Wisconsin, Ken. I just roped in Linda Heimerman. I know a couple other people we can get too.
Let's do it.
So, and Florida is on the list. So
Yeah.
don't worry about that.
Here's what it looks like. I am going to drive across the country. I am going to drive across the. I love that, by the way, you guys. Adventure is it's my blood. I love adventure. I'm going to drive across the country, and I'm building a minimum of 5 sites across the country that we're going to do these pop-ups. And the intention is just to demonstrate. I'm going to help demonstrate your greatness. And here's what we can do. Technology allows me, through brain entrainment, to move you, no matter what the mind is doing, you as a body in space and time, into the parasympathetic nervous system. even with a monkey mind. I know some people will say, but yeah, well, my mind's unique, Ken. It's a bit of a bear. We wrestle all the time. I'm like, that's okay. I'm a good wrestler. The technology is a better wrestler. You can't cheat brain entrainment. You can't cheat brain entrainment because it starts to create a bridge between the left and the right hemisphere, the cognitive and the subconscious. It starts to build bridges. And those bridges do everything from autonomic motor response control. I mean, think about that. What do you mean control motor response? Yeah, relaxing the body. All the way to a bilateral coherent signal. So I've tested many people, and I'm just super excited about the results when we reset some of those brains, and it only takes 20 minutes. So think about it.
Pretty amazing. Absolutely. It's really amazing. So, and I also I posted the new gut reset program dates in the chat. So if you already signed up, you should have an email that tells you those are the new dates. But if you are still considering, it's not till the end of March. So you have time to save up for all the supplements. The supplements we're recommending cost about another $200, but it's enough for 9 more resets on top of the one that we'll be doing together. So
yeah, that's significant, folks, because when you do something once, it has quite a biological effect. But if it's taken you, 5 decades, 6 decades to get where you are now, don't expect to change in 3 days. Now, I take that back. You will have a change in 3 days. But again, having the knowledge and the product to do it 9 more times, right? And even if you do it once a month, that's a long period of time to really, really practice, and not just practice, but actually solidify a change within your biology. This is important. The reason I'm asking you guys to practice your fire escape plan in the times in which you don't need it is because then you will know what it's like, and you can rehearse it over and over again, just get better at it. So in the times in which you do need it, it's there. So no different than doing this gut reset 9 times. You go out into your life, and after you've done it 9 times, and this is like maybe 9 months down the road, all of a sudden you're feeling so amazing and things are changing, and you go somewhere and you eat something that's terrible, or you start having a behavior that's not great, you're still pretty much impervious for a while. You're still super woman or man for a while. But if you go back to old habits, the body will too. Right? So now, but you have the knowledge, you have the experience. And once you have an experience, you can't unexperience it. Like I said, you can't untaste the orange juice. Nobody will knock you off your experience. It's yours forever. So these are the reasons why we're doing the gut reset. This is why I'm doing the pop-ups across the world, across the country. You need to experience things. Virtual is great, but experience is better. All right. Doc Steve said something about my ring.
Superman.
Right there, babe.
Cool. Very cool.
All right, you guys.
And I'm also putting in the chat, this is the Monday Night Magic podcast list. Everything, not everything, 90% of everything we've done in the last 3 years is up there. There's tons and tons and tons of episodes that you can still go back, find the title, find what resonates with you, find what your heart is called to. And, you can rewatch it. You can share it with friends. And, let's get this information out there. Another secret, there might be a book coming based on those Monday Night Magic podcasts. Might be. Not right soon.
When you put it out there in reality, it has to become now. Now it's known. Okay, we can't just.
It has to be. It just isn't happening this month. And our next Monday Night Magic is March 10th. So
those of you
go ahead.
Those of you who have like put some things in the chat about, hey, here's a location, here's a location, here's a location. Email Lori those those requested locations. We're going to be building that out. And then start thinking about what 15 people in your community. We will give you the entire blueprint of what it looks like. We'll handle everything from you'll be the liaison, and yet we'll work with you, and no different than creating an event. Like basically, we are creating an event in your hometown or wherever you are, and we'll manage it all. So, think about it. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Whew.
Yes, yes. Thank you for being here. Thank you for loving us enough to spend your second Monday of the month with us all the time. We really appreciate it. And invite your friends. Let's get this valuable information out to the world in an even bigger and broader way.
Okay, March 10th, everybody. See you then.
All right. We love you.
Thanks, guys. We love you.
Oh, thank you, honey.
Don't forget your homework. I want to see everybody on that declareyourgreatness.com. Come on.
I'm already on it on my phone.
Woohoo!
Okay. Well, we'll know because those emails will be coming through. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Guys. Love you. Bye, everybody.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.